Ever wonder about what witnesses do on Steemit? Curious to know what projects and initiatives are in production to make your time on Steemit more productive? This is the podcast for you. Your co-hosts, Andre and Shane, will talk about witnesses, what they do, what projects they have in development, and what concerns about the blockchain and Steemit.com they're focused on. They'll also invite the men and women who run witness nodes onto the show to discuss their roles, responsibilities, and goals. Welcome to The State of the Witness. Steemit Incorporated, the writer's block, and their respective owners take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show hosts or their guests. Statements and show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the writer's block or of Steemit Incorporated. The material on the State of the Witness webcast is provided for educational and informational purposes only. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the State of the Witness podcast. As always, I am Anarcho-Andre, aspiring author, Steemit witness, and a man who just doesn't have nearly enough time to get done what he needs to get done. Normally, I would be joined by Shane, but since he's having a little bit of technical difficulties on his end, I am instead joined at the beginning of the show by our lovely guest, Crimson Clad, who is the second half of the Follow BTC News powerhouse. So, Crimson, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I actually thought I saw Shane pop in there, so I'm expecting him to talk in our ear any minute. But I'm here, and I'm happy to talk with you until we can place some blame on Shane.
Yeah, that's pretty much a given. I don't see how you could not blame Shane for what's going on.
Let's see if he says anything.
Yeah, well, it might take all night. But in the meantime, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody who's listening to the show and everybody who's in the audience chat a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what you do as a witness.
Oh, Lordy, I didn't realize it was going to be one of these kinds of things. Hi, so yeah, I'm Crimson Clad, follow BTC News, and I work in a partnership. So it is, everybody always asks, oh my God, how is work divided? Right down the middle, so are profits, and unfortunately, so are costs. I haven't found a way to foist them all off on him just yet, but I figure with some tricky math, I'll get there. I am a moderator for the PAL network for the Minnow Support Project. And I spend most of my time working in there and I would say 4 or 5 other Discord communities pretty much all day. And I do a lot of coding for our witness. So whereas you've spoken, I think, with Jeff before, with Follow BTC News before.
Yeah,
he handles a lot of the management side of it and a lot of the bookkeeping, and he keeps an eye on Steemit Chat and some other platforms. I happen to do a lot of the design work, a lot of the copywriting, a lot of the communications, and some of the code. And I keep an eye on most of the Discord communities. So between the two of us, we managed to not go completely insane.
Well, let me be the, I'm sure I'm not the first person to mention it, but let me be the first on this show to mention that what you guys have going on is just absolutely incredible. I mean, you guys pump out good stuff all the time. Steemistry is, it's awesome. I mean, the mention tool that you guys have set up is fantastic. I'm looking forward to the other tools that you guys are obviously have in development. When Jeff was on the show, he mentioned that you guys had a couple of things in the pipeline that he didn't want to talk about. Do you have any projects that you're willing to divulge, or are we just going to be kept in the dark until you decide to release them?
I think if we had a better roadmap of what we were releasing next, then we would just do that. It's one of those things that we kind of work on things in bits and pieces. And depending on where my coding knowledge runs out and we need another dev to come in and we kind of bang heads together on it, that's kind of how it goes, right? So we do have a couple that are pretty close to completion, but truthfully, we've been getting really involved with Utopian right now. And of course, the platform this week has been wild. And there's a lot going on. There's been a lot of communicating going on versus actually producing right now. So I'm pretty eager to take Steemistry out of, I guess, beta, if you want to call it that. Like technically, we don't even have a homepage right now. We direct you to all the tools, but we don't really have the site up and running. And that's kind of my next goal, is to have that more accessible to people instead of just a tool here and there.
I'm actually glad you mentioned Utopian, because that was the first thought of my mind when you were talking about onboarding or getting help from a couple of a dev or two to help build something in particular that you're working on. And I've seen a lot of discussion about utopian.io. For those of you that aren't aware, Utopian, if I recall correctly, if I'm understanding this right, runs off the Steemit blockchain, but unlike where Steemit is a social media platform, Utopian is kind of like GitHub for Steam. So people will post, calls for devs to help build programs or develop applications, and people can come in and respond to that, upvote it, release applications and stuff on utopian.io. And it functions the same way with the upvotes as it does, on Steemit, but it's a completely different focus.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is open source. And that's one of those things that you find devs in two camps. You'll find devs that want to keep their code and guard it jealously and release it to get paid. And then you'll find people who are a little bit more altruistic or are at least more interested in putting the code out there and saying, here's what I've done. Here's the first step. Now you take it, you run with it. And they put the code out there as open source so other people can begin fiddling with it. And the idea is it becomes iterative. So, I work on it, then Andre works on it, then Shane picks it up and he works on it. And the finished project kind of becomes a gestalt that way. It becomes way greater than the sum of its parts. So the open source movement is fantastic for, I mean, almost every platform in terms of technology. But the idea is okay, I built this awesome tool and I put the code out there. Now you don't have to pay me for it. So it's hard to incentivize people to do that, to just dump their code for free. And so Utopian, the idea is you will come forth, you will present your, proof of work or your ideas or whatever the case may be, and it's got a link to GitHub. So if you've already built the code, you can link it in there. A moderator will come around, they review everything. And if the submission is accepted, it gets posted to Utopian and it gets a Utopian upvote. And they have a giant, giant wallet behind them. So the idea is if you present something that is accepted, that is beneficial to the blockchain or the platform itself, then they'll reward you for it. You didn't do that work for nothing, but you also put out code that everybody else can improve upon. So then if it becomes, it stays in development and it becomes something more, you can resubmit it and you can be rewarded for your work on it. So the idea is now we want to be collaborative. We want to be open. We want to, bring together all the best ideas and the best minds and, also still be able to pay those people, because right now that's not what's happening. So it breeds competition, it breeds cooperation, and it actually, gives people back something for their work, which has always kind of been a problem. It's a very unique situation that is really suited to the blockchain.
Oh yeah, I will absolutely second that. The first time I read about and heard about Utopian IO, I was like, this is actually pretty cool. And I've always been of the mind that the open source, the push for open source development has always been from people who, in their minds, they're more interested in acknowledgement of their work rather than compensation. I mean, obviously, we all would like to be compensated for the work we do, but I feel like I've always gotten the feeling from people that have worked on open source applications that their major point of concern is, okay, I want to be acknowledged for my work. I want people to know that this is what I did, not so much being compensated for it. And I think this Utopia strikes a really good balance between the two.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And for some people, and you see it a lot, devs especially, sometimes it's just the idea of a challenge. So that somebody comes forth and says, here's my idea for a post. Here's a thing that I really want and I can't do it. And a dev goes, I can do that. So the idea for something and that problem solving and that process, some people are addicted to it. And it's like a little puzzle, and devs love shit like that.
Do you think I can get any devs to consider making an instant messaging service on Steam?
Oh
Or the
God, I
Steemit front end?
guarantee you there are polls for it, but you never know. Go check through the repository and see what's in there. But
Oh,
I'm sure somebody's trying.
God, I hope so. The first iteration of Busy had one, and I was so excited about that because that's something I've been talking about since I got here in August of last year, and it has yet to materialize.
Yeah,
And
and you would
I
think
have to
with our
hunt people
new
down on Steam at chat somehow, and like maybe sort of, kind of, possibly, but not really get a hold of them.
Yeah. Christ, getting on Steam at chat. But it's funny, given that we have speech bubbles representing us now, yeah, the ability to talk on the platform would be great. Utopian actually just launched, I think it was 2 days ago. on their platform, they actually just launched a chat function. So
Oh,
it's out there.
awesome.
It's happening. It's on Utopian itself. We'll see. We'll see how long it takes to get to the platform.
I'll mention it to Draco's because they have a Ghost team. They have their own condenser, and if they were to do
Yeah,
that, I
I
think
know.
most people would just migrate from Steam to Ghost Team and just stop using Steam it
You know,
entirely.
we're working on that, right? With
No,
Dracos.
no, I didn't. Wait. Okay.
Did you just Deb-splain my own project to me?
No. I did not. I did not. I swear to God, I didn't. I
I'm
did
sorry,
not.
I'm teasing you. Yeah, no,
No, I
we
didn't know.
are
I
we are
didn't know you were
actually half
working
and
on it. I'm
half.
sorry. I
Well,
apologize. That's
no,
my
and
bad for being
Dracos
poorly informed.
no, Dracos is going to kill me because I'm supposed to technically be working on some front end looks right now, and I do. I've got a little portfolio growing on the side with everything else. Yeah, no, Dracos is doing a bunch of the condenser stuff and some of the sort of features that we've been testing out, and then I'm going to be basically skinning that bad boy. So
Hell
yeah.
yes, I am excited about that.
So yeah, we're excited for that. I don't really know what the time frame on that is. We frankly, it's just really nice to have uh to have a mirror that works.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. I think on the end at the end of the day, pretty much everything else could be set aside as long as the actual site works.
That is the plan. And right now it does. So I mean you can use it. It's not beautiful. But it has the what we are calling Steam It Retro look. So if you are missing your previous sort of look of the platform, then yeah, go ahead, use that. And then we'll be kind of doing our own thing over top of it. So it won't stay forever. But for now, if you were a fan of the old look, well, I guess use Ghosting then.
That's what I do.
Yep.
That's my endorsement for it. And I just want to mention that I'm glad you guys are actually taking the time to put forth some effort on changing the visual aspect of it. I can't remember what post it was. It was a 2018 roadmap that Steam It Incorporated, their dev team, posted out on Steam It and got feedback from the community. And
Right.
one of the consistent features or things that they wanted the team to focus on, that the community wanted the team to focus on, is the appearance of the front end.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think the big thing is it's not just about appearance. I mean, UI is good and UX is better, right?
Son of a bitch. I can't hear you, boss. Nothing's coming through. Nothing is coming through at all.
There he is. He's back. I was just going to talk and fill some time, but that was
No,
the big one.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Shane is, as everybody who's in the room is pointing out. Shane was trying to call me and I didn't answer, so I was like, oh, okay, well I'll go over there. Little did I know I was going to disconnect it from this voice chat. I don't know how to connect the two. I'm not a Discord master.
Oh, that's problematic. Okay, well, I don't know what to do with him. What do we do with Shane? What do we do with a problem like Shane?
What is there to do? Put him out of his misery, I'd say. But no, we can't do that with Shane. Well, I'll just let him know that he has to communicate through text from here
All
on
right,
out.
we can read off what he says to us, right? We can try.
That's right. That's right.
As he doesn't type anything. So yeah, okay, there you go. Dracos is spearheading Ghost Team, but it is a half and half kind of thing. We're gonna hopefully make that look even better than it does now.
Like I said, I'm really excited about that. I think one of the things that busy.org had going for it, just from the get-go, was the different look, the different way that the whole page was set up and how it appeared to the user. And that's one thing that I've noticed that Steam hasn't had for a very, very long time, or at least, since I've been here, is it doesn't have a distinctive look. I mean, it kind of does in that it doesn't really look like anything else, but the problem is it doesn't look like anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, some of the design cues I'm not a huge fan of, and part of it is because I don't feel like they were chosen. Like ergonomically isn't the right word, but that's kind of the way that I mean it. Like, there's nothing that they've brought forward that I look at and I think, oh, that's so much easier to use. You could see that they were driven by visuals to some degree, but I just don't feel like there was a lot of thought to the actual interaction that a user has with that page. if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, I 100% agree with you.
Like I really haven't figured out there's a button to switch towards like a mobile view instead of just having it be responsive. So like what's that all about? You know, when you're in the feed, you can press it and it actually compresses the feed, and it does go to pictures more so, but it actually drags everything into the center of the screen. Like I don't know. I don't know. There's some weird stuff. It's a work
Yeah,
in progress. We're still in beta.
yeah, we're probably going to be in beta for the next 5 years, I suspect. Beta forever.
Listen, I mean, it's the beautiful thing about being a witness right now is competition is rising, and competition breeds excellence. So what do, right? You just see what keeps happening and we find out what gets pushed forward through Utopian and through other witness initiatives. And either it gets picked up by Steemit or something rises up and becomes a better platform, and people who are holding Steem end up using whichever one becomes more viable. It is what it is. The blockchain is solidly rooted now. It's not going anywhere. It's the interface to that blockchain that is, I suppose, potentially, up in the air.
That's actually that's another thing I wanted to mention, and it's something that really fascinated me about Steemit back when I first realized that there were other methods of interacting with the blockchain. I believe when Zapple came around, and there was like an image service. I can't remember what the heck it was called, but it was basically like Instagram, but for the Steam blockchain.
Oh, Steep Shot.
Yeah, Steep Shot. That's
Yeah.
one. Because back when I joined, I didn't know pretty much anything about cryptocurrency or blockchains or anything like that when I joined, right? So I joined as a complete noob in any arena that has anything to do with application development or understanding of any of this works. And then when I realized that you could build different applications that communicate with the chain, and the chain is a completely separate thing and functions on its own independently of all these things, I was like, this is incredible. This is going to be a way to diversify social media and how you interact with other people, and it's going to make everything simple because it's all going to function on the same base. It's going to all function on the same backbone, but you can literally take it and do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and it's often how I kind of explain my job to people is devs or like hard baseline coders bring me a skeleton. And then between the two of us, we make muscles, and then they leave and I put skin on it, right? Like it's the layers of it. And the data is there. Like you said, it's a good word, backbone. The data will always be there. It is there forever now. And however you want to take it and you want to parse it and you want to manipulate it and you want to present it is possible. It's amazing, the abilities that we have with this. It's just a matter of how do you become inspired to do that? What becomes more interesting and more useful? And so all our tools and stuff, it's just pulling that data and it's presenting it in a new way. The big thing is how you also interact with the chain itself, right?
Right, of course. Because at the end of the day, that's what makes everything happen. That's what makes everything function and move forward.
Yeah, is this something annoys you enough that you go out and fix it yourself?
Now, and it's funny because the longer I'm a witness, the more I regret having chosen to go into law as opposed to coding and development. Because I suspect I would have been a lot more useful in that regard.
There's always time to learn, and I always find it funny because a lot of people that are you're in a technical field in a lot of ways. I mean, there's rules, there's restrictions, there's laws, there's a framework that you work inside. Like here are some rules that you cannot change, and here are some rules that you use to win an argument. That's code.
Oh yeah,
it's
no, it's
100%
logic. That's one of the things that always appealed to me about coding in the first place, because I took a couple of classes in high school. One of them was in Java, and
yeah.
I always enjoyed the fact that there was the syntax was going to be the syntax, and once you learned it, you could use it, and it was simple, straightforward. It was like math but with language, right?
Yeah.
And that's basically what argumentative logic is. Unfortunately, I couldn't stand to do debugging, so I quickly just decided to hang my hat on that, and I was like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and most of us don't end up getting to use the old, it's compiling excuse anymore. But With a lot of the languages out there, it's so easy to deploy now, like to set up a virtual environment and just fire out a couple of little quick and dirty bits of code and have it work. Languages are getting easier and easier. Repositories are getting, more and more kind of pre-built stuff. Oh, I hope you couldn't hear my beeping there.
No, I didn't.
Okay, good. We're in Discord. Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things that if you wanted to do it, you could. It's just for you. When the hell would you have time? And I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
have time
yeah,
either,
I know.
but
That's what it comes down to. So
it's a
once I
premium.
get my law degree and I get set up with my corporate job where I'm working 8 hours a day and I get paid a regular salary and I don't have to go out there and market myself, I'll take the time when I'm not working cases and just teach myself how to dev.
Oh yeah,
Because you're right, it is getting significantly easier. Like I went to God, this was a long time ago. This was in middle school. I went to I went to computer camp. God, I sound like a nerd. I went to I went to computer camp when I was in middle school, and I learned how to code in C++. And I mean, C++ is great because or at least it was in my opinion, because it was very, very structured and it was very, there wasn't any ambiguity. There was, it was the best parts about, coding in very, very strict syntax languages with the benefits of having, natural language pointers and actions and stuff, right? But then I learned to code in Java, and everything was like significantly smoother and a lot easier, and you could pull all sorts of stuff. There were libraries for everything, and now I mean I can't even fathom how much stuff there is.
It's interesting because almost, I mean, it's very simple. It's a very simple sort of way of putting it, but it's not just that the syntax has changed or it's gotten easier. I think the emphasis has changed. As languages developed, it was very like, if then else. Like it was just very formulaic, and it is still that. But I think the emphasis now is more on creative ways to solve problems. You have way more options with the language, with the syntax. So now it actually comes down to you have to think a little harder. If you can do anything, what will you do? You know? Versus, okay, I only have X amount of commands that I can use, or only these type of calls will pull a response. So how do I work within that? Now it's no, I can do anything. So how do you start using that in a creative manner to solve problems?
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine where to begin, and that's always been my problem creatively, both in writing and just about everything else. If I had unlimited options, I'm paralyzed as to like, okay, where do I start?
Oh, I'm getting told that I'm significantly louder. That's definitely not the first time I've heard that.
I turned you down a little bit. Sunravel me if you can hear. Does it sound about even now, or I don't know?
Here, I've moved my mic away from my headset just a tiny bit, so hopefully that helps a little as well.
I personally, I think based on my levels, you're coming in at the same volume, but I'm not the one listening, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Go ahead, I'm coming in hot.
All right, let's see here.
I think you just go for it.
Whatever.
Let's just keep
fine.
it as it is.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good.
You just need to yell.
I can do that. So
All
anyway,
right.
so anyway, moving right along. What were we talking about? Where were we?
Oh, we were talking about you learning to code and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, God,
It's a whole can of worms. Forget it for now.
No, well, yeah, I know, and I mean, it's one of those things, and you're absolutely right. It's just like anything else that you want to learn. It's never too late to inform yourself and to sit down, break open, a couple of guides and stuff, and try and kind of figure your way out. And there's plenty of information and documentation out on the web, so it's really not an unattainable goal. I just don't have the time right now. But I think as time moves on, if we're still chugging along in 2.5 years, which I don't see why we wouldn't, if we're still chugging along in 2.5 years, I will probably put forth the effort and try and work my way into being a dev. Assuming there's even a place for me by that point, I'll probably have been overshadowed by all of the way cooler witnesses at that point.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to see so many more people join the race. And then I'm also like, oh, God damn. I literally have nothing. Like, I can't go harder than this.
That's what
How do I
exactly.
compete harder than this? Yeah.
Exactly. What do I have to offer? I have quips. I'm witty. That's about it. That's as far as I can go.
I was in one of my other servers today and I was talking to somebody, and I think it's if you believe in the work that you do and you bring a passion to it, then it has value. Um, and provided that you believe that strong enough, it's like some Peter Pan bullshit. You're going to fly, honestly, because a lot of people don't have that strength of will and a lot of people don't stick it out. A lot of people come here thinking this is a magic money machine. And I guess to the layperson, it is. But for everybody, it is not.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll definitely agree with that. And I think it goes back to who was talking about expectations and how people need to adjust. Was it Luke Stokes or was it who was it? Somebody was talking. Somebody made a post about user expectations and how people who end up disappointed usually are disappointed because their expectations were unrealistic and not based in fact and understanding what exactly it is they're getting involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually just I'm ignoring Shane in a DM right now too.
All right, good. I'm not the
poor
only one.
guy,
I'm glad I'm not the
the
only
poor
one.
guy's trying to get into the show, and the problem becomes normally we do this through OBS, right? So you pick up the call with Shane, and it comes through your desktop speakers, and it gets streamed out. No big deal. But because we have to be in a room on a call, and we also have to be in a call with him, that's problematic.
Yeah. I don't know how to do both of those together because
Can we do a three-way phone call? Actually, it doesn't matter because nobody can listen in. So I don't know what to do with Shane.
well, I mean, you always just write stuff out and listen on Twitch.
Blame him? Yes, exactly, Andrew. Exactly. Blame him. Oh, Andre's typing. So every time there's a little bit of an awkward silence, one of us is trying to type to someone.
Yes, it's not intentional. Like I'm not just letting dead air hang just for giggles.
Well, I have to say, I mean, we've talked about all the competition and everything else. It witnessing is definitely interesting, and it's been quite the week, hasn't it? I think a lot of people expect us that we run Steam It
Oh yeah,
witnesses.
yeah.
So
That's
they come to us with absolutely every grievance, and definitely, I would love to run Steam It. Um, you have to get to the top 20 to be considered part of the votes for hard forks and for the future of the platform. Certainly, we have voices that we can raise, but to actually be effective in terms of casting a vote, you got to be in the top 20. And Steam It is still Steam It. We talk about blockchain technology. Steam It itself is different from us. So this week has been a lot of things happening on Steam It that, of course, witnesses can't 100% solve. So there's a lot of discussion this week that's been very interesting.
Yeah, no, and that's been a kind of a consistent theme is everybody asks the witnesses to change things. Like if anybody's ever spent any time in the help channel on steamit.chat, there
Oh,
there are requests for witnesses to fix all sorts of things. Like
Jeff lives there. Follow
yeah,
BTC News.
God, he does.
Bless his soul, because I could not do it. And I mean, he feels the same way about Discord. He gets in here and gets super discombobulated, but oh my gosh. Yeah, spending all day in there is quite the feat, I have to say. And actually, Dracos is in there a lot too.
Oh
The
yeah,
two
yeah,
of them
yeah. Dracos,
are
Tim Cliff, and
amazing at
follow
helping.
BTC News. That's the dream team right there. If you ever wanted a customer service dream team, that's it. IT support forever. But yeah, no. Well, why don't you? As far as what you've seen recently regarding Steam at the front end, what really caught your eyes the last couple of weeks?
Well, do we want to talk about the flagging? Do we want to go there? Do we want to
I
talk
mean,
about it?
this is a free speech show. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm not going to censor you.
Well, no, I didn't mean that. I meant more organically. Where do we want our conversation to go? Because I mean, we feel very similar about things, and I know this has been a heated week for you. Um, I'm slightly more reserved in it. I do understand some of the arguments made. So I mean, I don't know if we should make a rundown for people listening, or if we should just start bitching about flags. I don't know. It's your show. Should we
Well,
explain the fiasco?
yeah, I think it would bear out to explain what's going on, because I mean, and I've only really been aware of my particular corner as it relates to the writer's block, since I make it a point not to really get involved unless it affects me in some direct way.
Yeah, and I think honestly, and there's Shane in chat. Yeah, let's bitch about flags. I think the reality is this is kind of a very good microcosm of the entire platform. This sort of writer's block specific incident. It's happening everywhere, but this is a good kind of easy to grasp uh, thing that most people could understand the use of flagging in terms of what we're having it referred to as redistribution.
And I cannot fucking stand that word. Every time I hear it, I just see I just see a picture of Marx, sitting over there in the corner laughing at me. I'm like, "Oh, you son of a bitch."
The Sun Ravel me asks a good question. She says, "What do witnesses have to do with the flagging?" Sweet fuck all, son.
Yeah, just about. Just about. We don't have shit all to do with it unless one of us gets involved. And then at that point it's on that individual. It's not as a group.
So, I mean, the reality is Steemit as a platform was meant to be uncensored, but there was, of course, a built-in control of error. Let's call it the control of error. So the rep system is meant to, how do we put this? It's meant to basically make it very easy at first glance to point out if you are a shitty person.
Or just a relatively unknown, like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, but I mean, a 25 rep to me, I don't look at that and be like, but if I see a negative or I see under a 25,
Oh yeah, yeah.
right off the bat, I will write you off, which is terrible. But at the same time, those are the people, I get them. They come into MSP and they go, holy, whatever, I made a mistake. I did this. And there's two routes it goes down. They either start begging for upvotes and we try to dissuade them, we boot them. Or they get involved in chat, they start talking to someone else, they take some mentorship, and they slowly improve. And we've got one. We had a guy that was at 1, and he's only worked his way back up to like 11 now. But that's with real content and with organic votes from, other people in the group who have been walking him through the process and all this other stuff. That to me is a success story in the making. But either way, he still did the thing that got him flagged down to 1. So the system worked. So
Right.
I would have overlooked him on the platform. Now, as I'm, talking with him and working with him in the group, that's different. But he had to put that effort to come find the community and make the effort to not suck at Steemit anymore. So that's good. The control of error there is working. I don't want to be a 1. Nobody's paying attention to me. My content can't be seen. Therefore, I need to change my behavior. Control of error. The problem comes with, as we've experienced here, they're calling it redistribution, large accounts flagging other small, medium, well, let's face it, not large accounts, but other small or medium accounts that can't touch them, opinion-based or based on this concept of redistribution. So this is what has everybody very, across the spectrum, very angry in most cases. Because the idea is okay, well, Andre wrote an awesome post. He's got a $50 payout. I think Andre is overrated. So I come along, I flag him, and I take $20 away. Well, who gets to decide that? Is that redistributing back into the reward pool just because I find no value in your post? And that's kind of the crux of it, really.
and that's essentially what it boils down to, and that's the point I've made. Any argument about reallocation of rewards back to the pool, or reallocation away from a particular user to increase the amount of rewards available for other users, boils down to somebody coming along saying, you know what, looked at your content, not really worth that much. I realize other people have voted it to make it worth that much, but they're pretty much wrong, so I'm just going to go ahead and fix their mistake because I know better.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate to some small degree, because I think the idea of having redistribution there, it needs to exist. I mean, honest to God, these whales, oh God, there's an Andre face in chat looking at me. You're a cutie. This is
Thank
distracting.
you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
The problem is, okay, here's a whale. They've literally posted one line and a meme, and they just made $300. Now, is that like that should be redistributed, I think, because you've got minnows busting their ass for a chunk of the reward pool who just spent 7 hours researching something and then another 5 writing. Uh, I don't know. But I think the reality is uh is the ability for flags to go every way. And this is where it starts getting really hinky because it is based on opinion and it is based on power. Delegated proof of stake is what the entire chain it runs on. So I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know where you connect and disconnect those concepts to make flagging more effective. And that's the conversation that everyone is having right now, you know?
Yeah, and that's it's like Sunravel Me pointed out. If you flag a whale because you think they're making too much on a post, that's probably going to backfire. And 9 times out of 10, you'd be right. I don't think there is a way to really disconnect it on a coding level, simply because of the, like you mentioned, delegated proof of stake is the way that the is the way that the blockchain works. So I don't think there's a way to really separate it out or tease it out. I suppose you could. I mean, people have talked about splitting the flag function into flagging for abusive content and downvoting for rewards, but that doesn't really address the issue because the downvoting for rewards is the same thing that we're talking about now. So,
Yeah. I think there's no one on the block that would be like, well, that person just tried to put, kitty porn into the chain. You shouldn't have downvoted them. That's opinion. That's not opinion anymore. Like that's protecting the chain from far-reaching repercussions. And I think the reality is yes, it's censorship free, but also as a community and a platform, that shit ain't gonna fly. We're not gonna let that fly.
well, yeah, and there's plenty of stuff that as a community, the vast majority of us, and I hate to use the word majority because it makes me sound like I'm favoring democracy, but in reality, I mean, Steemit is a private platform. It's not a public utility. This is a private platform. So as a community, as a group of people together in a private enterprise, we do have the right and the ability to say, okay, we don't want this on the platform. And not only that, but things like libel, child pornography, things that are very obviously wrong and are wrong pretty much universally. I don't think there's even going to be an issue about this. I think someone's going to see a flag on there, and unless they're just trying to shitpost and troll, I don't see how they could possibly argue the other point.
Yeah, I totally agree. I guess it really does. It comes down to, and of course, everybody who is at the top of the chain, the food chain coming down says, well, anybody below me that's complaining about fairness is complaining because they don't have enough money. Like they're not getting the payouts they want, so they're bitter. Well, that's not really true. And of course, everybody at the bottom looks at everybody at the top and doesn't always see the work that it took to get there or the investment that it took to get there and says, well, they have so much, they should give some to me. So there isn't, it should be easy, but it's not. And it's one of those things that, of course, then immediately comes back to the witnesses because how do you fix it? And I guess the reality right now is I would be more comfortable with redistribution as a concept if whales were redistributing each other. And the vast majority of them aren't. Yes, of course, there are some on the platform who are starting their own little flag wars, I guess we want to call them. Although some of them truly do believe they're righteous, and some of them come from weird little kernels of righteousness that then grow into trees of crazy. So there's that. But it's tough to look at it totally altruistic. I understand trying to protect an investment, but it's very difficult to say, okay, well, I'm doing this for the good of the platform and I'm doing this for my own good when I'm also voting up my own posts or comments to absurd amounts of money. And I'm also looking at somebody who's either a little bit higher rep than me or a bigger wallet than me, and I'm not touching them. The people who could stand to have a bit of redistribution on this platform are kind of all laying around with each other's dicks in their mouths. And nobody wants to say anything lest one of them falls out.
Yeah. And I mean, it's been a circle jerk for a long time. I'll be the first to admit it. And I believe in the platform very, very strongly. And I like what we have here and what we can do here. And I don't think that downvoting or flagging, if they ever decide to separate or if it stays the same function, I don't think it should ever go away. There's been conversation about people like, oh, we should just get rid of it. It should be upvote only. No, it really shouldn't be. And we've seen this with spam abuse and abusive posts and stuff where
Absolutely.
that really legitimately has no place on this platform. But at the same
Yeah.
time, but at the same time, we have to develop. And I think the only way that we're going to do this is as a group of people, as people that are concerned about this, going out there, voicing our opinions, being loud about it, and campaigning for it to get it in people's minds that flagging to reduce rewards on content is not acceptable in our community.
It is, I mean, it's really difficult because every single part of me looks at, say, some whales who are posting 5 times a day and their posts are bringing in routinely $300, $400 plus. Oh, shoot, I'm being loud again. Okay, I'll try and use my inside voice.
I don't know what I can possibly do to be louder. I'm at 100%. I can't go any higher.
And
I pulled
unfortunately,
over as much as I can.
I can't affect my microphone in. I'll go into my settings in a second and pull it down in a bit. But I guess the reality is I look at, say, let's not name any names, but let's name Sweet SSJ. How about that? Not naming names. Sorry, not sorry. Let's look at that. I mean, I'm sorry to me, and I am a travel blogger. I am a travel poster. I am a writer. I am, a photographer. I look at her posts and I go, sweet baby Jesus, that's not going to work. That needs to come down. But I can't do it. I just can't. And actually, you guys, I'm going to turn myself down because you have to remember we're all in the same chat room together listening to each other. Andre can't turn me down. He can only turn me down for himself. So I'm going to do it on my microphone while he picks up the conversation thread here.
Okay. And I think Sweet SSJ is one example of that. There's a couple of more. I'm not really inclined to name names, but there's plenty of examples.
That's part of the problem, right?
Yeah, and I should have more of a backbone, but honestly, whatever. I mean, the way I figure it, that kind of behavior is going to happen regardless, just because it's like you said, they're untouchable. Like who's going to say anything about it besides the other people who are also doing it?
Okay, I brought myself down 20 decibels here, so hopefully that helps. Yeah, and I guess the problem becomes there too, because just because I look at that content and I say, sweet SSJ, that's garbage. And it's not garbage, but I think it's overvalued. Just because I believe that, that's my subjective opinion. So does that give me the right to flag? If I went out tomorrow and I got a 500,000 SP delegation, does that make sense for me to go on a crusade and rebalance the reward pool? Let's just say I didn't care. Let's just say I did. I pulled a Bernie. I powered the fuck up and I threw my reputation out the window and I went on a flagging spree. Is that any different than a large account attacking a small account? Is it still sort of an equalization of opportunity, or is that just me tearing the people who managed to get there down, right?
Well, and what it comes down to is reallocating rewards is essentially an equalization of outcome, which anybody with any sort of historical sense or context will know that equalizing outcomes never, ever, 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 ever works out the way that you intended to.
Exactly. It's got to start from the opportunity. It's got to start from the get-go. And so it's one of those things why we're struggling. I mean, obviously, every witness is struggling very hard to get into the top 20 because you don't just get a say, you also do get significant rewards for that. And I kind of look at it as that is, without putting money into the platform in terms of buying Steam, that is where fatter wallets are made. If a small witness comes in and gets up high enough in the rankings, the rewards go up. That is where our fatter middle class comes from, first and foremost. If it's not whales saying, I am going to be altruistic, I'm going to put out tons of votes out there, I'm going to upvote and make sure that there is a middle class that both votes upwards to whales, but also votes downwards to minnows, because that's what we need right now. We need sort of a middle tier to the economy. That's what really is going to float everything. That's what's going to stabilize the platform. The only way to sort of make a couple more dolphins at a time is witness rewards. And right now, it's not unhealthy. Like, for example, I think we dropped today. Everybody's powering up and powering down, and the witness list has been going bananas. So I think we jumped and dropped twice. So I think we're at 29 now? Question mark. I haven't
Must be
looked.
nice. I'm down here in like the 90s.
Honestly, it's expectations are really, really high. So, we put out code and we put it out there for free and we're like, yeah, this is great. Everybody's using it. People are really happy. And then unfortunately, the expectation is, okay, well, what's next? And you're kind of going, oh, well, shit, can't we work on this and develop it and make it better? No, no, no. It's got to be something new. So, that's definitely a painful lesson that we're learning. But I guess the reality is we're seeing a lot of movement, and 20 to 40, especially, um, now that more people are understanding that, okay, witnessing potentially could bring rewards, everybody and their goddamn dog is a witness. And a lot of them really suck at it
Yeah.
in the nicest possible way. They're
True
like,
enough.
I can put some money on a server. And, like I'm not naming any names, but a guy came in the other day and he goes, oh, hey, I want to talk in the witness channel. We're like, okay, let me just go check and make sure that you're actually a witness. And I told him, I goes, oh, hey, you're showing up as disabled. I see you've had 2 blocks, you've missed 2 blocks, and you're showing up as disabled. And he goes, oh, no, I'm not. I said, you better go check the status of your witness. And he comes back, goes, oh yeah, my signing key was wrong. Okay, so you didn't notice that, and you missed the only blocks you got, and you came here thinking you were an active witness, and you've been disabled for days. For real?
For
For real?
days. For days.
For real?
Now, granted, I have made stupid mistakes before, and I've missed
This
blocks
is
because of it.
There's
However, it was
stupid and
because I
there's
was
being
screwing
crater.
up as I was trying to set it up. So
Yeah, and I mean, this is another unpopular opinion of mine is I think everybody needs to lose a couple blocks. Everybody needs to because it's going to happen. There is nothing you can do. There is no control over it. And it's great. I love seeing a zero. Fantastic. But you know what? You have not been tested. You cannot rise up the ranks until you have proven I've missed a block. I've got a failover. I've got a failover for my failover. I can do the code myself. I have a dev that's, whatever the options are there. You need to be in a trial by fire before you know that you can handle it. So I like the people who have missed 2 blocks, 5 blocks. And I mean, obviously it's a ratio as well. But if you haven't missed any blocks yet, I don't know. I think you need to at some point. The reality is we all learn from stupid mistakes. And oh my goodness, I heard a Shane.
I'm here. God
Jesus,
damn
that's
it, I'm
fucking
here.
loud.
Wow, that was ear rape.
Ooh,
Wow.
okay. Let me do some settings here. Sorry, guys.
Holy sweet Jesus, Shane.
Ooh.
That was
Is that better?
fucking loud. Yeah,
Better?
that's better. That's
Works?
better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on a completely different machine. Whatever happened is I don't know. It's on my Ubuntu. Did not work. I switched over to Apple. I hate Apple with a passion, but this is working, so here I am.
But
Hi,
here
guys.
you are.
Hey,
Here
Shane.
you are.
That's what you get for using Ubuntu to do anything than run your server.
Yeah, you're probably right. But it's
Just savage.
this is savage. Jeez, I want an Apple. This makes me feel dirty.
Well, you didn't have to tell us, but you did. So now we all know your shameful secret. Do you want to weigh in on any of the stuff that we've been talking about in your absence?
Well, I've only been able to hear a little bit of it because I've been in pure panic mode of why the fuck isn't my machine working. So I heard the flags, and the only thing I'm able to add is, yeah, flags are necessary. I think we all agree on that. Um, the main issue I have with flags is the taking the visibility away. I know there is that issue with there may be some content that needs to be taken away, but I think that might solve a lot if a lot of people would. I don't know. I don't know what else to add because I'm not sure what's been said.
Well, that's okay. We'll correct you when you start to repeat our good ideas. We'll take all the credit away from you.
That's
How about
right.
that?
That's right.
Yeah.
What
So
the
just
hell's
like
going on?
another day. So like another day.
I'm
Shane.
gone for a half hour. All of a sudden, she takes over. What's
Listen,
going
Shane,
on
you
here?
should know this.
She's a
Any of
way
your
better
shows,
host than you are. I'm just saying.
any of your shows that you invite me on, I'm going to probably make a muck of. That's what happens. I am become death, destroyer of worlds and dreams.
Jeez.
And
Actually,
Discord shows.
wait. Hang on. Before we go any further, Gmux, I know you're listening and I know you're in the chat. Can you do one of your like quintessential British sighs real quick for
Or
Shane?
tisk or a tut. Oh, he's typing. That probably means no.
Oh, hell.
Yeah, probably. Don't yell. Please don't yell.
All right. Anyway.
What were we talking about? What was I saying before Shane interrupted so rudely? Oh, he got a sigh and a tut.
We were talking about what were we talking about? The
Son
difficulty
of
of being a witness in like some of the higher rankings.
Right. I was going somewhere with this argument. That's right. So he's
Yes,
talking about how
You were here. I'll tell you what you were saying.
Ooh,
You're saying you don't trust anyone who hasn't missed a block, and if they haven't missed a block, that means they
I
haven't
didn't
been through
say
the
don't
fire yet.
trust, but I said I would like to see some people miss at least one block. Yes.
You said don't trust. Let's go with this.
All right, that's fine. I would
So,
say if trust, it's not like a I don't trust you criminal. It's a I don't know, you might crack under pressure. I like to know that things are field tested personally. That's all. So I mean, it's happened. I think we've missed a couple blocks now. It's shameful, but at the same time, we've processed I don't even know how thousands and thousands and thousands, and we've missed 4, 5, and immediately our failovers kicked over and things continued. So I know fully that if we make it into the top 20 and things start flying by us, I don't have to worry about it. The things that we've built are there, they're solid and they're working. So to me, that's a promise going forwards, right? You learn from the mistake that caused it and why it went down. But at the same time, I have absolute proof that if I get up there, I will not be dropping blocks. I will not miss 10 in a row. My witness will not be disabled, all the kind of shit that comes with it. And people don't think um, of that sort of escalation, or let's put it this way, some of the witnesses that I was talking about earlier that join in and end up in position 300 with a disabled witness and are trying to get votes and don't know what their signing key is. And
I'll be honest
yeah.
with you. It took for me to miss a couple of blocks before I bit the bullet and bought a failover witness. So,
But I mean, when we were all kind of up there in the upper ranges, the blocks, it's not like you're standing there dodging them, right? Like it takes a while for them to get to you.
yeah,
And
exactly.
this is where I was this is where I was initially going, is we were talking about the, opportunity versus outcome. And a lot of our problems are distribution based problems, but where the largest distribution outside of buying into the platform is witnesses. So one of the reasons that I desperately want to get up there into the 20s is I really would like to put some redistribution of witness rewards ideas forward. And this is either going to fly or it's going to get us absolutely tarred and feathered and run out of town. Uh, I'm guessing probably the second one. But to me, that's one of the best ways to start kind of building up some middle tier wallets is looking at, say, 20 to 40 or 20 to 50 and taking even, say, let's say the top 20 witnesses, we take 5% of their blocks and we drop them into 21 to 40 from, and add that 5%. All of a sudden, there's quite a bit more going out to the middle. The top ones are not losing much. But of course, this is where you are potentially going to run into some problems because those people are very happy with their compensation. And whether or not that would fly, I don't know. But to me, right off the bat, if you have a wider spread of witnesses gaining even just a slight bit more of rewards, you're starting to distribute it a little bit more because it's been proven there are people who are newer or who are minnows. I'm waving my hand right now in the top 30, in the top 40. So, and that's changing all the time. So you're seeing a rotating sort of competitive drive to get into that area. And if more blocks are being passed down to those witnesses and more rewards are coming from those, well, that's a slight redistribution of steam that doesn't come from flagging. Now, whether or not that's a crazy idea that will get us absolutely destroyed, well, that's another thing entirely to think about.
well, actually, you know what? I had a question regarding the top 20 because as it was my understanding that essentially the top 20 are the ones who basically are relied upon to run the show. So we need a minimum of 20 witnesses, right, in order to process blocks the speed we do. Does that change as the blockchain increases in size and there's more users? So I mean,
That's
would
a
we
good
be
question.
looking at an organic growth away from a top 20 to say like a top 30 or maybe a top 40 in the near future as we get more users on board and more posts and transactions going through?
That's really interesting because all of us are expected to obviously, upgrade our servers and have more RAM or more memory that way. But what if it was? What if the load was distributed over X amount of top witnesses versus saying, okay, well, the top ones need to increase their gear every, exponential amount of posts and data on the chain? I don't actually know. Do you, Shane?
I don't. I don't. It's a fine question.
Well, that's something we're going to have to leave in the show notes and just leave it open ended for as many witnesses are going to listen to the show, which is probably like the three of us that are actually on the show right now that are going to
So
listen to it to answer that question.
so Krim, I want to ask you on your redistribution idea. Whether that goes to the top 40, maybe the top 50. That's only redistributing to, let's say, 30 people. How do you think that would fly with the community as a solution?
Oh god, I think it would never be enough. But the reality is we are in a system that is it is in flux and it is in change and it's in beta. But there are some very entrenched roles and expectations here. And again, the problem becomes if I march in and say, okay, well, I want to redistribute 20% from every top witness in the top 20 and I want to see it go from user 20 to I don't know, user 110. I want to see those blocks redistributed. You think that's going to fly? You think anyone would I would lose all witness votes and I would be out on the street. So again, unfortunately, the witnessing game and you guys know it, a lot of it is bringing your ideas to the table, but presenting them in a way that is political,
Oh
and it
yeah, it's
sucks. It
politics. It is
fucking
politics.
sucks. But the reality is I don't get to come to the table with my empty plate and say, "Please, sir, give me some blocks," and then I get blocks. That's not how this goes. So if we want to change things effectively, we have to play the game, and part of the game is saying, "Okay, here's a reasonable solution that will start us down the path to something better." That is also palatable for those in power. And then, we work in the background getting more votes, getting more votes, getting more votes, getting more votes, and hopefully staying in the top 20 by dint of the changes that we are making. Got to get there first. But I mean, another option is how the backup witnesses are given their blocks because the reality is it's I think every 3 seconds a top 20 witnesses a block, and every 21st time it's a not top 20 witness. That's how the blocks get out there beyond the top 20. Um, so what if there was a second rotation in there, or what if that transaction time was changed? Little things to start. That again, is it to a huge chunk of the platform? Is it to a huge chunk of the users? No. But it's to a section of additional users who are not growing at a crazy whale rate right now, um, who are, in a lot of cases, in that middle class that is kind of left for dead on Steemit. And of course, the increased competition, especially in that range, it's always moving. Um, the hope would be that there would be, say, a couple more users on top of that. It wouldn't be the same 30 always there. I mean, in the last, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the list has changed dramatically. So I don't know. These are the little things that we have to bring to the table to some degree. We have to try something. And that's something that doesn't touch flagging right off the bat because I mean, we can't do anything about that till Steemit Inc. decides that that's the thing that they're going to change because um, that's not really a witness problem. So the problem is redistribution. And right now, where a majority of the Steam that is coming from, it's not being bought, it's being produced by top 20 witnesses. No?
No. I didn't actually have anything to add on top of that. I'm in agreement with you.
Silence.
It's I don't know. I honestly
It's a
I would like to have
conundrum.
an answer to the question that I asked because I think that could inform making that sort of suggestion. Like you were talking about increasing the rotation rate of greater than the top 20. Because I
Yeah.
wonder if
Yeah.
that wouldn't have at least provide some sort of technical reason as to why this needs to be done. On top of the more equitable distribution of rewards, I wonder if that wouldn't provide a technical reason for different distribution ideas to be considered.
Oh yeah, voting would be a shit show too. Can you imagine, say 40 votes versus 20 votes on a hard fork decision? I love it.
Yeah, well,
It's like herding cats now to get anybody to do anything. So,
pretty much,
right?
and I mean that's well, you know what? Honestly, I don't know because it's well, I don't know. Things are a little bit different now than they were a year ago. So I guess it's going to be a lot more difficult to get consensus, even with the 20 people that we have on something going on now. Even like just hard fork 20 or hard fork 21 or 22.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is, I think you touched right on it, is things are very different than a year ago. A year ago, you could rock up, you could get a couple awesome servers, and you could start making, strides to get to the top 20. And once you were there, you kind of, the momentum was going, you were rolling, you could stay there. And that's not to say that the people that were up there weren't deserving of it, but then they were able to go pursue other stuff. They could then, okay, I'm going to get a side project that's going to make me a bit of money on the side. I'm going to get a side project that's really altruistic. I'm going to build a side project specifically the Steam blockchain. I'm going to build a side project that makes me fiat, whatever the case may be, because you had some security. And of course, now some of those witnesses are actually, they've proved themselves a million times over, but they're not marketers. And they've seen their positions drop because people are coming in who are talking a big game and who know how to market and who know how to shill for votes. So it is, the landscape has changed. There are doers and there are talkers, and there are doers and talkers combined. And I don't know what the right mix of all those contributions to the witness pool looks like.
Dracos.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
Fuck that guy.
Dracos, or
He's so
follow
perfect.
BTC News, or you. Pretty much that like
It's
I said,
okay.
the
We're an
trifecta.
entity.
Yeah.
We're an entity. So if you talk about Jeff, I'm just assuming that I'm an
Oh
entity.
yeah,
It's fine.
totally. But yeah, that's pretty much. If you look at Dracos, if you want to see what a witness, a good witness, a solidly built witness program looks like, Dracos is pretty much the guy to go
I
to. I mean,
totally agree.
he's an accomplished dev. He's always willing to help people. He spends, I don't know, an inordinate amount of time in help. He's a machine. I don't even think he's human. I'm pretty sure he's a bot. But
Well, I tried to meet him when I flew to Montreal. I was like, let's do this. And he was, I'm not here right now. So I don't know. I cannot confirm
that's because
he
he only
exists.
exists in cyberspace.
He is. He's a ghost in the machine.
That's exactly 100%. Shane, you haven't been present for most of the show and you're not talking now. Speak.
Ah, it's been a rough night. It's been a rough week, rough night.
I hear you.
I'm listening, and I'm learning. So yeah. So what have you guys talked about besides you went into flagging, you went into this idea? What else did I miss? Just
I bullied Andre into learning to code, and then also
yeah.
gave him the excuse that he doesn't have to because he's busy and he's got a good thing going.
What'd you recommend? I picked up. I've been looking at Python a little bit.
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I do mostly front end code. I understand syntax for, JS and a bunch of other things, but it's not what I do. We had this whole discussion is once you understand basic syntax these days, the rules don't change much from language to language. The rules are very similar. It's just, the actual language used
Oh
obviously
yeah,
is
the
different.
the
Calls are
syntax is what's
different.
different, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like the rules, like once you understand how you string things together. Like, okay, the string has to start with this call and it has to use these types of punctuation. It has to use this, fine. But the structure of it, if you understand sort of one programming language, I don't know what you would want to call it, sort of
Well,
I'm
okay,
looking for a
to
word
put it
and I'm
into a more
struggling
concrete
because of
example, an
bourbon.
if then loop is always going to be an if then loop no matter how it's written.
Yeah, I mean, the overall path that everything takes is very similar. It's just the logic is very similar. You understand the logic once you tell one language to another. I mean, and of course, I was going to say English to say something else, but that doesn't make any sense because English is wild and we stole all our words from everybody else, and our sentence structure is stupid. So Yeah, that's
Our
like that.
sentence structure is awesome. We have the most fluid language in the world. Are you kidding me? I love English.
Because we steal from everybody else.
Yeah, but it totally works. Totally
That's
works.
true. It is. It's effective. Hey, man, I get it. I like to write. I'm just saying it was a bad. I started to use the analogy, and then I'm like, oh no, that doesn't make sense at all. Fuck you, bourbon.
Bourbon is awesome. It's okay. I won't hold it against you.
It's Friday night. Shane, come on, man.
Oh, I'm here. What's going on? Wake me up.
I don't know. We want to hear from you. This is your show, and I came in here like I don't know what. I just drove in and steamrolled everything. So you're here now. Steamroller me
that's
back.
fine. Andre needs to be steamrolled every once in a while.
Coming from the guy who wasn't even here for 75% of the show.
I was here. I just was unavailable. I was unavoidably detained. All right, Krim, let's get into this. We were talking about rewards, and you and I had we won't go into super detail, but you and I had a direct message earlier regarding bid bots and how much you detest them. What do you think about them as far as how they take away from the reward pool for the platform?
Well, and my detesting them is it's a really personal thing. And it's funny because, I've tried to break down why. And I can't actually put my finger on it. I do not have a super great reason because I don't hate on somebody who has found a way to make extra money in the system. I don't hate on somebody who has found a way to bring money to their post and rewards to their post when they just can't get noticed another way. But somehow I just really, really dislike it because I find all it does is it channels the rewards into these existing trickles. And a lot of it is it's unfortunate because even though we're on the chain and everything's transparent, the profit system of a bid bot it doesn't exude transparency, even though it's all there. I think a lot of people that use them don't fucking understand how they work and don't understand that they can go get all the information to make the best choices with them. And I think this is part of an attention economy is everybody does want organic attention. Like everybody wants mad SPD in their wallets, but they also really want those stupid fucking eyeballs on their posts. And everybody wants a comment. And I mean, a bid bot doesn't do that. So how am I as a content creator lured to this platform? I put out a fucking incredible post. It immediately sinks like a rock into the ocean of posts also put out at the same moment. How do I feel as a person, as a creator, as if I'm tying my self-worth to an attention economy? How do I feel that I have to go out and I have to buy my date? That sucks. That sucks. It's shameful, And it's
would you
almost
go
like
so far as to say it's shameful?
Yeah.
you
Okay,
knew it was
so
coming.
yeah, I knew. That was so obvious.
It's been used in chat a couple times actually.
The pun is it's Shane instead of shame.
Yeah.
In case you didn't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes
I did miss that. No, that's funny now.
Good.
Anyway,
Good
I'm sorry.
God.
I'm sorry. I'll stop.
So, yeah, but the way we're set up here, you're not going to get eyeballs unless you get a
The
few.
money, I know.
Exactly. So it's a catch-22. How do you get the eyeballs
It is.
without that little boost?
I agree, and that's kind of my problem. Is that's why I say I can't begrudge somebody who has a great post that goes out, buys an upvotes their post, makes an actual return on it, and manages to land themselves in the hot. Well, shit. Okay, you deserve to be there, and you deserve that money, and you had to pay for it. Well, shit. I can't take that away from you. Okay, I'm not going to use it. Now the problem is, and this I find this really interesting because we've done this with a number of things. And Lexiconical had an awesome post on it, talking about the idea of self-voting versus not self-voting. And a lot of these things come from the top of the platform. We get really mad when a whale self-votes his own post up for $100. God damn it, fuck shit, fuck. But here we are with minnows down at the bottom of the platform who are being taught that is abhorrent behavior, who put out 2 posts a week and upvote themselves for 1 cent. And they're being taught that that's disgusting and it's horrible and the platform won't bear it and whatever else. Come on. That is not the same thing. And we do the same thing with bid bots. We don't want to see people who have the most money, who can put in the biggest bids. We don't want to see them making bids. Fuck them. Why are they getting so much return? They already have money. They can spend the money to get the biggest returns. Whereas, minnows who could use it the most don't have the money, but we're teaching them the bid bots are horrible. So I mean,
And
it's
funny.
difficult.
It's funny you say that. I do run a bid bot for transparency here. Upcoder.
Shameful. Terrible.
It's a small. I know. I'm an awful person, but she's Canadian, so we balance that.
Ooh, we are widely regarded as the nicest people in the world. So go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I still have
boy.
this. I still have this
Shane
theory
and I love
that
each other. Sometimes mommy and daddy fight.
I still have this theory that Canada is just a giant parking lot for the Mall of America. I don't have any paperwork to back that up, but that's just my gut feeling.
We are your hat. You are our pants.
So I run Upcoder, and it's a small bid bot. It's not one of these that gives out a massive amount. It's not like Build a Whale or Belly Rub, which has ungodly amounts of money in it. So I get a lot of small minnows, and they get a nice little return. For the most part, people are fairly happy. They're not paying much, and they're not really getting much as a return. So I don't think I'm burning that too bad as far as the distribution goes. But I do notice I do have a whale that uses Upcoder.
Oh, for fuck's sakes!
And it's the same person we have issues with over at MSP.
Oh,
and yes, King's Crown, I'll just say it, uses Upcoder.
God damn it!
Really?
And yeah, Upcoder.
But I mean, do we go and say that's hustle? He found every fucking bot. He threw every dollar he had at all of them, and look at him go. I mean, to me, it's like, but I mean, I don't know. It becomes subjective again, and unfortunately, we're holding the people at the top to certain standards, but we also hold the people at the bottom to those same standards. And truthfully, as much as I would love to wean every minnow off a BitBot, I can't treat minnow A the same as minnow C, the same as King's fucking Crown.
I can.
Right?
Okay. All right. So then what's the difference? If there's no other way to compete right now, like you said, I don't really like them. And I think the economy would be much better if we could wipe them all out, but we can't. They're here, they're part of the economy. So the only thing we can do is, okay, here's an alternate solution. Here's how we work alongside them. And our strategy working alongside them eventually grows and eclipses them. That's the only way to do it right now. Because nobody's going to come along and say, no more bots. And then
I just want to take a moment to point out that what you just said, Crimson, is literally the foundations of the market and how markets work where coercion is not used and where there isn't a central planning authority. So you come up with an idea, and some people don't like that idea. So to compete with that idea, they come up with another one and push that one to be better than the one that they're competing against. It's incredible. Yeah. I love it. I love Steemit.
But that to me makes sense because that's how I see growth. And in anything, it's not just the market, but the market is obviously what we all give a shit about because we all want money. Right? That's really what it is.
Well, I mean, I'm talking specifically about like human action, about interaction. You know, if there's a methodology that somebody uses and you don't particularly like it, instead of saying, "Oh, well, I need somebody with some level of force to come down and just cut that shit out," you're like, "Well, okay, there's nothing I can do about what they're doing over here, so I'm going to do this, and it's going to be better because I'm going to agree with it, and it's going to sit well with me and with other people that I've met and agree with me, and we're going to make it better." And we're going to be bigger than the other thing that I don't like.
And that's all we can do right now because, we have fallen in love with a platform that does not allow for us to take out these big actors unless, a miracle, a windfall, suddenly every single person on the platform gangs up on one whale at a time. It's not a thing. So we have to find ways around it that are more palatable, that are more better for the life of the platform. And that's, of course, if I knew what that was, I'd already be in the top 20. Son of a bitch.
So let me follow that up because as Andre knows that I'll just ask questions just to keep this going, just to see where the convictions lie. And you're talking about BidBot specifically, but how does that jive with, both of us are part of the Minnow Support Project, which is based off of a bot to fuel the growth. So how do you jive being a moderator and a major part of Minnow Support when the core draw is a bot?
It's one of those things, I mean, and it used to bother me. It used to bother the fuck out of me. It really did. And then I looked at how people worked with that bot and successful people in MSP. And even like we have, non-English speakers because they're the ones that kind of get the short end of the stick just because there are a ton of them, but a lot of them, with the exception of, say, like Korea and Russia, let's just say like Indonesia, there are a ton of Indonesian users who suck at coordinating. If they actually got together and, followed curation efforts and whatever, there would be a really strong cultural block there. But unfortunately, they don't. They come and they look for, a lot of them come and look for the MSP upvote. And then they get used to that because the upvote, while small in other currencies, is like, wow, this is a day's salary for me. Perfect. And then that's it. So the problem that we were seeing is, okay, well, these people would only come for the votes. They'd only come for the votes. But we've found that the longer people stay, they actually trail off in the use of the bot. So what we basically need to do is encourage that habit. Start there. Go ahead, use it. Get some sense, um get some sort of motivation, get some reinforcement, make some friends, and all of a sudden you'll start seeing your friends can vote you up more than our bot can.
Yeah,
And so you
that's how
just
it
don't
happened
use the
with me.
bot anymore, right? You just don't use it anymore. Um, and then you hang around and you have your friends and you have a circle and then you start going branching out from there. And that's been really successful. So at first I hated a lot about Minnow, but I was torn because to me, having that and not charging for it is amazing. There is somebody right now who's, working a shit job in Dubai that can make a buck a day with this bot and feel, some relief or some pressure. There's somebody in Pakistan who can, write about his, and I'm thinking of a certain user who can write about his little farm and his family and whatever else and, make something of that. Because unfortunately, and this is a platform problem as well, is a lot of the big curators aren't really looking at some of the ESL people because while their posts might be great, the English might not be great or whatever. So, we're seeing projects like you guys do in the writer's block, like we do at MSP with proofreading and things like that. So, yeah, I was really conflicted at first. And honestly, my confliction came first about Minnow, and then I started understanding how Minnow was beneficial in terms of encouraging people and watched how the usage of it dropped off. So that's fine. And then we had other bots coming into the pond, and it's like, okay, well, these auto vote back to delegators. And I was like, oh God, I see some people who are delegating just to get a return on their delegations. Oh, I don't like that very much. But then it's that is a little more trickle down. And let's face it, trickle down doesn't work. But that is a little more trickle down again than somebody who is running a gigantic bid bot where the minimum bid is now 10 SBD, and the return could fuck you if you're not paying attention. So I've kind of come to grips with these types of bots because I don't feel they're quite as scammy. Bots, I can't wrap my head around the big ones yet. And I mean, this morning there was the announcement of the MSP bid bot. And at first, my hackles went up and I was so mad.
Woo, are
I
ya?
was so mad. And I'm not in love with the idea, but I have to admit, what I do give some credence to is the idea of building a bid bot that is more transparent in terms of where the profits go. Because basically that's the idea of this bid bot. Because you better fucking believe I went apeshit and went looking at all the numbers and everything in the proposal. So if 95% of the profits are not kept by the bot or by any of the owners of the bot or by MSP, but it goes straight back to the people delegating SP to it. I find this is either interesting in a way of, okay, the owners are not widely profiting, or B, this is going to be a horrific failure because who is going to buy a vote from a bot that isn't powering up? with its profits? I don't fucking know.
Well, yeah, but 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 the idea is this is going to be a crowd-funded bot. So the more that people invest, the bigger this bot will be, and at the same time, you're getting a return. I think it's going to help some real small accounts learn
Well,
to
I do.
invest a little.
Mhm. I
Um,
do like the idea that, because I know that's the other thing right now, is okay. I need a bot to compete. Everybody thinks this. Every one of these accounts who hasn't found their niche, who hasn't found a following, who hasn't found a community. I need to start a bot. I need to start a bot. You see a ton of them, but you can't. You can't. You don't know how. You don't have the power. You don't have the money. You don't have the dev. You don't have whatever you need. You don't have it. So it, it will be really interesting to see what happens. Whereas as a minnow, okay, well, I have 200 SP. I gave 100 SP. The bot only has 5,000 SP. Therefore, I'm X percent of the total and I get X percent of the profit every day. Well, if it's only making a couple bucks a day, you're getting nothing, but you're getting a return. I don't know. Like I said, I'm still not really happy with it, but this becomes another one of those things where, well, somebody's looking to try an idea and I'm willing to let it try. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to delegate it to it. This is exactly as we talked about. Let's find a solution to work alongside it. This bid bot is now going to work alongside the belly rubs of the world. Let's see how that fucking goes. But I think it is more accessible to minnows. So I'm not in love with it. And I'm not going to go to minnows in the pond and say, you should use this. That's not going to happen. Just like I wean them off of using minnow, and just like I wean them off of using bid bots.
boo.
Sorry. But at the same time, I'm not flaming mad about this anymore, just kind of looking at some of the ideas with it. And I also like the idea of this may or may not evolve into the first bid bot that has manual curation, because I basically said, well, I hate this and I'd like to see it use our blacklist. And immediately the answer was, cool, okay, let's do that. So that's the next piece of code coming. And that's something that obviously MSP's been working on, but the reality is that's not an MSP thing anymore. That's an MSP and Steam Cleaners. That's an MSP and Cheetah thing. The anti-abuse team, Spaminator, all of these blacklists are getting bigger. The people who consistently shit out bad content get blacklisted. What happens when there is a bid bot that actually listens to a blacklist? What happens when things that are going through it are actually getting checked for quality content? What happens if there's a bid bot that's only upvoting content that needs to be recognized? I don't know. I don't know, because we're not there yet. We don't have that. But that's an idea that's being floated
Boy,
as,
I like that. I
you
like that a
know,
lot.
a
that
fork
yeah, that's an
off
idea.
one of these belly rub
How
kind of type things, which is simply volume. I'm not picking on belly rub.
right,
I'm basically saying like volume. There's no way he could ever check every post. It's impossible.
right. So how do you work that though? I mean, since it's a bot, for that to be considered quality, you need that human interaction, which takes away from the bot. At
For
that point,
sure.
you're just curating.
Well, I think the reality is the first step is we have between MSP, between Steam Cleaners, between Cheetah, between Spaminator, the blacklist is pretty fucking big. So if the bot immediately bounces back something from all those accounts, that's a start. Is that manual curation? No. Is that guaranteeing it's upvoting good content? No. But it's automatically knocking out a huge range of
Yeah,
shitty
it's
posters.
increasing the chances that the votes are going to go to actual users that are putting out decent content or actually putting forth effort in their
Yeah.
posts.
So, like I
It's
say,
all about
I'm not
probabilities.
in love with this. I'm not in love with a lot of it. But the idea that it could potentially start tying to initiatives that are cross platform, that are working around spam, I'm interested in that.
Now,
I will begrudgingly say that could make a bid bot better.
now, the one issue I see with this is designed for the minnow, the small account, to start getting into having a constant income stream. A constant payout every day. The problem is, though, there's nothing stopping a large delegation coming through, unless there's some sort of
It's
limit that you can put on that to say,
So
hey, we will accept no more than 100 SP.
I guess, and I mean, because I thought this too. I thought, well, that's fucking dumb. If I was a whale, I'd march in. I'd do such a big delegation that the vote would be huge, and also, you know, nobody else could take a cut of that 95% of profit. Well, I guess the problem with that is now it costs more to get that return, and who if the vote, even if it didn't cost more, if the vote was huge, suddenly there's a ton of competition again, and what's the profit if everybody's paying, you know, point 0.1 SBD? Why am I tying up all my fucking SP in a, you know, in a bot that's going to return next to nothing? I don't know. And this to me is the stumbling block of where the whole damn thing could fail, because it's also not super super attractive to any bigger accounts to delegate right now. It isn't. The returns aren't there for them. So I don't know. And if you don't attract delegations, how do you get a bid bot that's attractive to a minnow? Huh? I I don't know. It's an experiment, but I guess to me, while I don't say I love this and I endorse this and I want this, I will say, well, it's one of those things. Here's this sort of sideways jaunt. We know what we have and it isn't working. So now we're trying a second iteration alongside it. Is it better? Nope. Fuck it. We'll change it again. We'll work alongside and we'll try and get better. I don't know. This is not my department. My department is community building. So there's that. I don't know.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you that, as you spoke of earlier, Indonesia and some of the other countries, if there's a chance that a user can make any sort of profit that makes a difference, they will go for it, no matter how big or small that bot is. If they think that there's a chance that they can make more money, they absolutely will. So the only problem I see is, the competition's going to be there no matter how small that bot is. Eventually, as the word gets around. Um, like Upgoder, I put out 2 posts, and it was slow going at first, and now it's a constant stream. I'm seeing 7 or 8 bids on every voting block, and everyone's making a return, or they wouldn't be coming back. But very, very little actual advertising, and mostly word of mouth. So this will get out there. The minnows will use it, and there will be competition. But if it's the way it was kind of described to me, there still needs to be some limitations put on how much someone can delegate, and maybe a maximum on the bid. That way,
Fully
everyone.
agree.
I'd like to see that. That way, we can ensure that it stays for the minnow, and that it doesn't come in that someone comes and bids $25, 25 SBD to get the $50 payout or whatever it ends up being.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Minnow Booster does something similar to that, where you can only send X amount of SPD per week, and so much at a time per per time that you transfer money out to Minnow Booster. I think
But
it's
Minnow
10 and
Booster
25.
feels like a fucking money mill.
Well,
Like I
no,
just look
no,
at that and
I'm
think,
not saying that. I'm
holy
not saying that in
shit.
support of Minnow Booster. I'm just saying there is at least one instance where this has been implemented. So it's
Yeah.
certainly possible. It's definitely doable.
And if I understood that correctly, they are going to be closing that down soon after the events that happened over the last couple of weeks. It,
Well, we're coming back to flags and being effective. So shit,
yep.
I don't know. I don't know. There's flags again.
Fucking
It's an
flags, man.
interesting time to be on the platform.
What a time to
It,
be alive.
it really is. And Krim, were you here for the hard fork change? Yes, you were. Yes, you
I
were.
was indeed. In fact, I came exactly, exactly 8 days before the hard fork, which means my first day I didn't post. I posted almost every day in a row up to the hard fork, and then I watched all my posts get forked through the fucking roof. You
Yep.
wouldn't believe that
Yep.
first week I thought, holy shit, I'm never gonna have to work again.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Ha! Joke's on me, sucker.
Yeah. And I was sitting there and I was explaining to Asaria, because you could sort of reading into it, you could see what would happen after the initial shock and after the initial happy when the fork rules applied to posts that weren't paid out. Like, we're going to go through a rough time, and there's going to be a lot of people leaving the platform. Well, the successful ones will be the one that stay through this hard fork until they fix the linear payout and fix all the issues that are going on. And we're seeing it now. We're seeing a lot of people leave the platform. We're seeing the price of Steam drop. And, I'm doing a constant convincing of, no, this is the right thing to do, is just weather this storm. And once these little issues get worked out, we're going to be, I think we're going to be doing well. It's just a matter of when the changes are going to come through. And I don't know how much longer that's going to be. I mean, Hard Fork 20 doesn't really seem to solve that issue as far as the payouts. They're going to onboard people faster and burn through Steam, which I guess could raise the price. But what are your thoughts on that, Krim? What have you heard? What do you know at this point?
I want to go get a link and drop it here.
You're welcome to. If you want to, you can drop a link. It won't be considered spam.
I don't know if you guys have been following the roadmap post and the comments being made on the roadmap post talking about exactly this. I haven't even dropped the link yet, and I'm getting yelled spam in the chat room. So I'll go get it and I'll drop it in here because it's interesting, because that's what everybody's talking about is, the fixing of,
the
linear.
rewards curve,
and
yeah.
Holy hell, it is a hot button topic. The word evil is being thrown around a lot. And there are a lot of ideas around how these votes need to be fixed. I don't know. Let me go get the link. You guys talk.
Yeah, it's you can always count on Mux just yelling spam for no real apparent reason.
Banhammer. Speaking about the reward curve, initially when it was implemented, and I saw that huge boost to all of my posts that had been posted previously, I thought, okay, well, this is pretty cool. And then I figured just as the same way about everybody else did, well, it's going to taper off and it's going to go back to normal because it's, once.
Hey, Andre, can you pardon me for just a second? I will be back.
Wow.
Oh, well,
and
all right, you
is.
talk, and I'll
I'm just
do
left.
other
I'm just
things.
left alone.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Something's happening.
No, go ahead.
It's okay. Hang on. I got the link. So you talk.
But anyway, so once everything kind of leveled back out, and I challenge anybody who was there when the hard fork got implemented, and then in the couple of weeks immediately following it, like the month that followed it, I challenge anybody to say that the rewards didn't, go back to approximating what they used to be in many respects. But I felt that a linear curve was going to be more fair to the people in the middle, because what we had previous to that was a quadratic curve. So it was very, very low for a very, very long period of time until you got to, the top, I want to say 20%, and then it shot up like a rocket, right? It shot up like a rocket along the y-axis. Whereas linear curve kind of pulled that out from against the x and y axes when you're looking at it, and it kind of made it a straight line. So your ability to affect post payout kind of increased as time went on. But since it's been put in, at the time when I was arguing that this was a good idea, I couldn't foresee, the rise of bid bots and the rise of all the bots and all of the voting behavior that kind of came with it, although many people did predict that this would happen. So I do think that there needs to be a change. I don't think this is good for rewards. I don't think this is generally a good way to go about any of this.
What do you think would be a good idea? What sort of change would you like to see?
That is an excellent question. I know. I mean, I don't think N squared is anything that we should go back to. Like, I don't think we should go back to that. But there's got to be another reward function that kind of balances things out a little bit more on the lower end, without unnecessarily incentivizing the kind of behavior we're seeing now. Because the linear rewards curve did not work as intended. It really did not. At least I don't think so.
Yeah, and was it who was it that said they kind of wished it didn't go through? Was that Ned?
Well, no. Was it Ned?
Was it Ned? One of them.
Ned absolutely detests N squared. So I mean, that much I know.
He's the one that was throwing around evil, like evil. I've actually dropped the link to the comment directly on that post in chat right now. So it goes right to where they are talking about linear versus all the other options in the roadmap. It's right here. For those of you who want to read along at home.
And there's a lot of good stuff on there, but I don't know. I really don't. I don't have a good solution, and I haven't really put enough thought into it to speak intelligently. I do know from just observing what's been going on with the linear rewards curve that this isn't working well. This is not working the way I suspect they intended it to work.
Well, I think the problem is curation is the lifeblood of this platform, whether you like it or not. Somebody needs to find good content and reward it. And it's hard to do manually. It takes a lot of time. It is to some degree subjective, but at the end of the day, it's very possible to find a good post and to check it for plagiarism and to check that the photos are sourced properly and then to reward it. But that needs a person. And right now, curation is not it doesn't bring the rewards to the person doing curation. So why the fuck should I curate? And it becomes again, I should buy this, I should do this, and you don't have a lot of incentive to not upvote yourself, but to upvote somebody else. And that's the problem is curation should be rewarded in a different way. And I again, how do you do that properly? I don't have an answer to bring to the table, but this is something that the more that I personally try to manually curate, I realized like, shit, this is twice now that I've been delegated 10,000 SP. Um, and I look at how much I vote and the people I vote on. And I mean, honestly, I'm not doing it strategically to earn, which maybe is a mistake. Maybe I should be growing my account. But I do it to lift up the people that I vote for. I, even with this power that somebody has given to me, the earnings are not there. Unless I basically chose somebody who I knew had a guaranteed payout coming, a nice fat payout, and then I upvoted them 100% to get the best cut at the exact right time. Well, all of a sudden you start seeing why the people who are already making payouts are getting more and more votes. Um, because that's the only way that you can guarantee curation will be lucrative for you.
And to follow that up, that also brings the rise, the program out there by Inertia called Lucky Luke, which is a
Yeah, front running anything or yeah,
front, yep,
calculating. Yep.
front running the bid bots, and that's a way to ensure that you get a cut of the payouts. Yeah, there's a lot of it. It's
And it's one of those things. I mean, honestly, step back from this economy, step back from all the problems that we have. That's a fucking brilliant idea. Holy
it
shit,
really,
that's
it
brilliant.
really, it
As a
really is.
as a programmer, as a coder, holy shit, like my mind exploded when he announced that. That's so brilliant. It's so simple, it's so elegant. But it's also like, oh, for fuck's sakes, now we're just going to load up more votes on the people who can afford to do
Can
it.
you
Yep.
go into a little bit more depth about that? Because I have not heard about this at all, so I'm completely unaware of this.
Oh, Andre.
Oh boy, yeah. Okay, so Lucky Luke is a program, and what it does is you get it going and you set your parameters of how much you want your vote to go out, and you set whatever bid bot, or I assume any other account, but well, it's basically going to be a bid bot because it's looking for transactions. And when it sees a transaction that is sent to an account that you set up, it will go ahead and place a vote for you before the bid bot pays out. So you can set it to look for a transaction of, say, 15 SBD. So anytime someone sends 15 SBD to Belly Rub, for example, you can make sure you have that vote on that post before the bid bot hits it. So you are in front of that vote and your curation is a little bit higher.
That is fucking ingenious.
Right? Shit.
That's fucking
I
clever.
I admire the simplicity and the elegance of it because it was right out there. And this is the both the sort of amazing potential of the chain and also all the things that we all shake our fists at because it was there. The data is there. It's all just waiting. How do you take it? How do you parse it? How do you understand it? How do you utilize it? Fuck. I'm not trying to fangirl on this, but because I think it's awful. Again, I mean, I love the ability of somebody to go out there and make that extra money to curate effectively. But are you? Is that the spirit of curation? I don't give a shit what this post says. I see the payout. I know the time to vote, and I know that I will get blankety blank percent, and that will mean X amount of SBD in my wallet. That's not really curation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's
you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Oh,
uh,
always got to build a better mousetrap.
you do.
Yeah,
Now, if you
but yeah, at the same time, I will say that's man, that's clever. That's clever. I got to give him props for that. That is a clever solution.
now see, I have no programming ability, but once Lucky Loot came out, my first thought was, I wonder if there's a way to see what has been suggested to Curie and hit those before Curie hits it.
Oh, and
That-
you know that there is somebody doing that in some way, shape, or form, because there are absolutely people who are privy to the submissions. And it's probably a treasured few, and they probably are laughing all the way to the bank. But you know what? They were before, anyways, because
yeah,
they knew where Curie votes were going to fall. So, and Curie is one of those things that you love to hate. I mean, or love to love or hate to hate, whatever your personal feelings on it are. That is one of those ways that minnows will get recognized and will get followers, period. A Curie vote.
boy, I tell you what, that first time in Sorry, I got hit with a Curie vote. Um, we had no idea what it was. We were fresh on the platform, and she had posted one of her music, and it got hit for 200 and something dollars.
Right? That first week. Oh, so
Oh,
tasty.
well, this was before this was before the hard fork.
Oh,
So this
damn.
was yeah, this was still on 18. This was solidly an 18, and it got hit for like $200. Um, and then she threw a rando whale on top of it. So at that point, that just zoomed it way up there. Um, oh, we were a happy people that week.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can only imagine.
My first week on the platform, I did it a little wrong because of course I didn't understand at the time. So I posted a pretty decent post and it did okay. It did like $40 and I was like, "Whoa!" And then my introduce yourself post caught the eye of a couple whales and I think it went to about $130. And then
That's nice.
my very first travel post got hit with a Curie and then got forked. And it went up to
Wow.
$475.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And it came down. It came way down because, of course, as the week rebalanced and the fork rebalanced and rewards, rolling price of Steam and, FUD set in about the new everything. But it still paid out. I could go back and look, but it still paid out well over $250. And I had at least 3 Curies that paid out over $200 in my first 2 weeks on the
Very
platform.
nice. Very
Two and a
nice.
half weeks. So yeah, holy shit. That's a boost that not everybody gets, and I cannot look to that gift whale in the mouth. But at the same time, after I aged out of Curie, which I did very quickly because big votes like that from Curie jump your rep really, really fast. I think I got Curied 4 or 5 times and I was over. And that was it. That next stretch, without it, was a very difficult to kind of understand what was a normal payout to expect for someone like me. Well, here I am. I'm on the platform for a month, and the rep I have is equal to somebody who's been here for a year, and the wallet that I have is equal to somebody who's been here for 6 months. But I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm a good content creator, but I also have no followers really. I have a couple that liked my posts, but you know, um, and it really didn't put me ahead in the way that I wanted. It didn't teach me the things I needed to know because
Right. I understand that.
I was already posting in a way that Curie wanted because I
Right.
got the votes and I wasn't posting specifically with that goal in mind. And this is not me tooting my own horn. This is basically me saying I came out of that experience not any better for it. But I was retained on the platform. Absolutely. I had hope where others didn't because I had seen the power of a large vote.
So that kind of reminds me of when you check the introduce yourself tag and you see these brand new users and they make their first posts and they're getting 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever it may be, dollars, and then after that there's nothing. um, I wonder how much of that goes into, hey, this platform kicks ass, to what the fuck happened, why am I not making anything now?
For sure. And I know that it's a whale's like, I mean, I talked with Acid Yo about it the other day. He had come into the chat and I had mentioned, like, hey, you're a cool dude. When I posted my introduce yourself post, You went out of your way to comment on it. You went out of your way to upvote it. We had some back and forth, and then you delegated 10 SP to me, like my first 2 days here. At that time, that was mind blowing. Like, I mean, I only had 20, and none of it was mine. So for you to just delegate, and I actually still have it to this day. I still have a delegation of 10 SP from Acidio. And so I said to him, like, that stuck with me. Like, thank you for reaching out and doing that. And he specifically came back and said, I'm sorry because I never followed up and I don't follow up. He's like, I do my best to try and get these people interested and try to help retain them. But the problem is I'm only one guy. I can't. For every minnow that I say hi to in the introduce yourself, there's 1,000 shit introduce yourself fake posts. And I've also encouraged so many people that day, I can't go back and be responsible to keep up with them. So this is, again, it can't ever fall on one person's shoulders. And one or two, even quasi altruistic whales isn't enough. Distribution. I don't know. I mean, we keep coming back.
It takes a village.
It really does.
Okay, Hillary Clinton.
Oof. It takes an ocean. It takes an ocean full of fish, Andre.
Okay,
I think that term was around long before Hillary, Andre.
Yeah, but man, did she popularize it. Now you have that stink about you.
Witness. Witness. Are you saying I smell, Andre?
No, not you.
I'm not.
Not you.
I'm
Shane.
not.
No,
Shane. Only Shane. You smell like roses. Beautiful roses.
What a liar.
I was going to say,
she's syrup. I live in Canada.
Yeah, moose testicles and maple syrup.
That's exactly it. A little bit swatty in the background.
Oh yeah, sure.
For sure. Bye. Nothing. All right. The Canadian.
Wow. Yeah. Whew.
This has been a really good conversation. I'm glad you came on. I really am. I'm glad that you were here for the show.
This is good fun.
Unfortunately, like said, it was just me and you for the beginning there, but Shane came in the back,
I kind of thought that's where the quality spiked.
Well, yeah, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you.
So I see Gmux has posted something. I'm going to read it out. We're talking about Curie and why some people don't like Curie, and Gmux has pointed out that there's another curator service, OCD, and I actually think Acidio heads that up, right?
If I remember correctly, yes.
Gmux, yes, it is. So he's basically saying that they do nomination, I guess, suggestions and posts, and Curie will come along, find those nominations, snipe them before OCD can come through and curate them. And then, of course, that value added to a post then puts them out of range for OCD. So OCD curators are feeling impressed upon because they are being, sniped. And therefore, the OCD curator loses their nomination and their stake. How do you prevent that, though? How do you stop somebody from seeing your nominations? I mean, the reality is that sounds like you guys have to change your nomination process.
Yeah, I was going to say Curie was well behind the scenes. No one really knew how it works. And OCD sounds like they need to do the same thing.
Well, the reality is after I got Curied a bunch of times, I started asking around and found out how Curie works. I think it's not that it's hidden, it's just they don't put it anywhere. So you don't think to go asking where the fuck this manna falling from heaven comes from. You just take as many buckets as you can outside and run around with your mouth open.
No, I'm what I'm saying is I don't believe anyone was able to see what Curie was looking at to upvote.
Yes, because it's all submitted individually through Streamian. They have a guild, and there's a submission page there. And actually, when I started out, before I was heavily involved in MSP and before I was heavily involved witnessing, I was submitting posts to Curie, and I was actually making, 10 to 15 Steam posts submitting. And I didn't even know the rules. I was just submitting just for shits and giggles, stuff that I liked. But now, I guess that got out there as, hey, submit a post, get 10 Steam. I think that must have gotten out of hand. So they've changed the process, but I don't know. I don't know what the right solution is for OCD, because the idea is as GMAC says, OCD is transparent. Well, how do you be transparent and yet also protect sort of the values of these posts because you really want to reward them, I don't know, asks for permission. Yeah, I guess so. But how do you tell somebody how to use their stake in a platform, right? How do you tell somebody what to upvote? You tell them. How do you get them to listen?
How do you? I Hey Mux, I know you're not on. Maybe if you want to come on and answer this real quick, um, what's what is the idea of asking for permission if you guys can curate them?
Hello.
Hi, Muxie.
Hey, Mux. Mux, you can
And we
talk.
never heard from him again.
Nobody's gonna bash you over the
Hello.
head.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
what's going on, Governor?
Oh my God, that was awful.
Not a lot. I'm just listening to this weird radio show.
Yeah. So what is the point of asking for permission? That just I know that's been there for a while, and that's always been a little bit weird to me, and I never did think to ask you, but now I have my chance.
Because often people have their own photos in their posts, and some people got a bit uppity about OCD sharing their post and a photo without asking their permission first. That
Oh, okay.
they looked at it as though OCD was making money off their posts, because their curation posts do make, a fair amount of money every day. And yeah, there was a little bit of a backlash over it, so that's why they started asking for permission.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's more of when they make their curation post each week and they put in, this is what we curated, people were throwing a fit. Hey, you're basically making money off my own post. And besides what you curated me, I'm not seeing any of this.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
That's been a conversation that's
Quite
been
all right.
ongoing for a long time, ever since curation bots got started. Was well, what do you use it for? Do you reward authors, or do you just feature posts? I remember, God, this was a long time ago. God, I can't remember the name. Dragon something, but he did a like top 40 posts of the week, and he was making a ton of money on that. And there was all sorts of uproar about that going on. Like, well, you're featuring these posts, and then you're just making money off of them, and you're not actually giving that money back to the authors. So that's been a conversation that's been ongoing for a while now. Anything? Nothing?
I don't know. That was pretty across the board, pretty good.
Yeah.
So I mean, the reality is Mux, if you could change something here from the OCD end, would you? Because I mean, the reality is you can't change Curie. Unless I guess you take over Curie. And if you do that, vote me.
Yeah, that's right.
To be honest, I've got nothing. Behind the scenes, there's been discussions about what to do about Curie, because it's been ongoing now for 3 or 4 weeks, where post after post gets sniped by Curie that have been nominated by OCD. So ultimately, it's down to Acidio to, decide what he's going to do about it.
I guess I think if you guys put it out there, I mean, and again, I don't know. We've just had this discussion about front running a bot. Well, this is essentially front running manual curation, which still to some degree devalues the work done for manual curation. It doesn't encourage people to go out and find work they like. It doesn't encourage more manual curation. So I don't think if it's presented transparently, here are the reasons that the nomination process is changing. And it doesn't have to be curated. It just has to be people are front running the votes, and it's ruining these people's chances of getting a nice vote from us, and all taking away the incentive to manually curate. I don't think people would be too butthurt about it if it's explained that way, but who knows, right? people find a reason to get hurt about everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, people are weird. I mean, if they get curated by OCD, they guaranteed, $20 on their post at least, plus the extra eyes on it and follow up votes afterwards. And yet, even now, when we ask permission, occasionally we get surprised when someone turns around and says no.
Well, I wonder if that comes back from a misunderstanding or a stigma of these big votes from bots, and I make air quotes where nobody can see on my end, that the OCD account is a bot account that is voting on manually curated stuff. Like, I wonder if this comes back to the very beginning of our conversation where we talked about, the stigma placed on some of these large vote services. I don't know. I mean, is that the hill that you choose to die on? Your $20 vote that you just don't want to take home because your artistic integrity? I mean, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it differs for everybody because there's plenty of hills that I'm willing to die on that nobody else is. So, yeah, I totally feel that.
What? Name one. Name one that only you would die on.
Staying away from you, you stinky Hillary Clinton face.
Hey! Whoa! Canadians talking
You
out of
invited
school.
You invited me. You brought this on yourself.
I didn't do the invitation. I said, haven't we heard of Krim enough? And he said, no, we need to have her on.
I mean, okay, so
behind the scenes, Andrei said, you know what? I'm being Andrei here. He says, I don't know what to say. He goes, can we get someone on that can talk and go toe to toe with Shane? He goes, I want to bring Krim on.
Oh.
And I said, okay.
Clash of the
All
Titans.
right.
Well, everybody knows that I actually really don't perform any function here. I'm just a pleasant voice to listen to. I don't actually have any useful opinions. I talk to fill up space. I admit that. I totally accept that. I understand.
and he still never told us about his hill.
So
he knows how he deflected that?
That was deflected for me. Thank you very much. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate it. No, so this actually came up in a conversation about the flagging issue and how it's my opinion that to really affect change or to affect, the proper kind of change, the kind of change that's justified not by, invoking some central authority, to go out there and spread as widely as possible this idea that flagging for disagreement of reward, over the rewards pool is wrong and it's fucking terrible and it should be stopped and that practice should be derided and mocked at anyone that you see doing it. And, of course, obviously the people that do it who are whales are just going to take a look at that like, oh, well, you can go fuck yourself, buddy. I'm willing to die on that hill. I am. I'd prefer not to, but if push comes to shove, I'll gladly take a drop to like -19 if that's what it takes.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I would do that. But the part of that now is because I know I have a community behind me. I know I have people who like me, who like my work. And if my work was somehow nuked from orbit, because that's the only way to be sure, that they would come along. And if I sent them the link, they would still vote for me and I would still make small payouts and people would still see it and I would feel okay about it. But
well, see,
when I
and that's
started,
but see, that's the thing. Even if like nobody else were gonna come to save the day, I'd still sit there and die on that hill, because frankly, it's an issue that needs to be. That's one that I'm not going to compromise on.
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, does your death accomplish anything?
That depends. It depends on whether or not I go out a martyr.
Hey, so speaking of -19, did you see Bernie's new post?
Oh, isn't he selling delegation?
He is now selling. Yes.
Oh, the irony of the ages. I literally got chewed out by this asshole in a post months and months ago about how I didn't really earn what I had because I had leased a delegation from Minnow Booster back when Minnow Booster got started. And I was like, I don't know how you can, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, because like I leased it with SP that I earned from the content that I produce. So I don't understand what. And here we are. And here we are.
Buy my upvotes. I don't sell upvotes. You guys, I'm going to explain to you exactly why I'm doing this. But I'm not going to, because fuck all of you and I don't have to be transparent. Also, I'm selling upvotes.
God, what a giant sack of shit. God, he
Again,
is worse
I
than
don't
Jerry.
know.
He is
You-
worse
you
than
know what?
Jerry.
I don't know.
You know what though?
Because some
Love
of
him
it's
or not,
good.
love him or not, he is an interesting person to pay attention to.
Well, yeah, you could say that about Jerry Banfield too. I mean,
No, he's
Yes.
not interesting to pay attention to. He's he. Oh, yeah.
Okay, but I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, like, if we were to do like an F Mary kill here of some of the like worst on the platform, I don't know. I think Bernie would squeak through. If you gave me like a Naganu or
oh
some of
golly
the other,
gee.
like, I don't know, because I can point to things that Bernie has done that has either opened up conversation that has resulted in action or has done some weird altruistic stuff that I look at and I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but for every step forward he takes 3 steps back. Not even just 2.
You know
Like he
what, though?
leapfrogs.
And this is not to defend him anyway, but fuck, a lot of people on the internet do that dumb shit. Like, I don't know if it's just like you can't see what you're doing because it's an ephemeral space that you navigate with an avatar and you don't like because you can't see your foot stepping in shit, you don't feel like you are. But it seems to happen a lot on the internet that people just don't stop. And everybody watching is like, stop, stop, stop. Oh my god, stop. But they don't. It's like watching a movie.
You know what though? You mentioned the one account there, Nagano, and there is another fine reason why the flag system is needed.
Absolutely. From
Yep.
orbit with extreme prejudice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this guy is one of the biggest pieces of shit I have ever seen on a platform. Things that he said to Ospit Bank and Crystal, his wife, there's no room for that, and I'm glad to see him basically off the platform at this point. I've heard rumors that he's actually in jail. Who knows if that's true? But
Don't know, don't care. He's not here, and that's all that matters.
Right. Ugh.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, that was awful. And I guess the outcome of fuck, marry, kill is just commit suicide, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I can bring myself to do any of those. The only thing that bothers me about Bernie, the only thing that bothers me about this with Bernie, because Bernie's an asshole. He knows he's an asshole. He staked his reputation on it.
He owns it.
He has. However, there's being an asshole and being a fucking hypocrite after you have spent months lecturing people on this same sort of bullshit.
Yeah, I that's definitely something that I find hard to wrap my head around but I mean, again, like we see it, we've interacted with people who it's so, and this is not a Bernie thing, this is a fucking platform thing. There's so many people who have this idea that they internalize and it becomes that, again, that seed of righteousness. It is their God-given just absolute thing that they must dedicate their life to on the platform. And somehow in the process of pursuing that, they start fucking with it. They start doing things that don't mesh and they don't see it. And I don't know if that's an emotion thing. And again, I don't know if that's an internet thing, a platform thing. I don't know if that's a greed or a I have to change and play the game thing. I don't know. Fuck, honestly. It's really interesting. Get an idea in their head and just stray, but you can't convince them that they're straying. And I mean, is that any different from the rest of the world? I don't know. How do you present to someone who is blazing down the road, heading towards the cliff, that, P.S., there's a cliff?
Well, for some people you can't. You just hope that they do as little damage as possible on the way out.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. Hope
Now-
the explosion is small.
I want to touch on one more area where flagging was a good deal and where it actually protected the platform. And Krim, you may have not been here for this one. Andre, I know you were. I don't know how involved you were. But the Matt Trainer debacle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Lambo's on the moon, man.
Lambo's on the moon.
Oh, God, that was a good one. That was,
That
I
was
tossed
amazing.
a flag on that, I'll be honest with you.
Oh, I did too. I mean, I was brand new on the platform, and I was like, all right, here we go.
I'm
Are
flagging
you
someone.
exactly? Yeah, I've got a big dick. Have you, have you? Are you aware of the story, Krim?
I am aware of the story, but I can see even in this room that there are some people new enough that you could probably give it a good animated rundown.
All right. There was an account comes on and says that they are making a Steam-based, I believe it was a reality game.
Yes, a augmented reality game, right?
Yeah, and they'd worked hard to work it into the Steam platform. Um, and later that week, there was going to be a big a slideshow, an audio slideshow talking about this and how this was going to raise Steam to the moon. Everyone was going to drive Lambos, and I believe it was a $1 million payout. Is that what the prize was?
Yes. It was somewhere around like $1 million or like 500,000, something ridiculous, just absolutely ridiculous. And don't forget to mention the grandmas.
The grandmas.
Yeah, because apparently, I can't remember what the exact phrasing was, but he mentioned somebody's grandmother had invested in it, and she was super excited about it. And she understood it, and like it was so simple to understand and get that somebody's grandmother could make money on this, right?
Oh, it was the simple. Yeah, if this woman can do it, you obviously can do it. That marketing scheme.
Yeah, exactly.
So they get to the they get to the little presentation, and it turns out that there wasn't really much of anything at all. And Matt Trainer was selling, was it exclusive information? And you could get in. What was the price they were selling? You may know the story a little better. I know it was just an exorbitant amount of price.
I
Like
don't remember what the exact numbers were, but it was ridiculous. It was as egregious as when Jerry was trying to charge people $40 or $50 to start an account.
oh yeah, this was like I believe I want to
This
say
was
it
even
was,
worse.
Sorry,
I
that
want
came out.
I want to say it was like $15,000. You could get
Yeah.
insider information on how to work this. Well, almost halfway through this presentation, you saw this post. Now, this post had come on, and people were excited, and it was up over $1,000 on the payout. And I mean, this was on the trending page. This was all what Steemit was talking about. And halfway through the presentation, you started watching that drop, and the payout was dropping. And he got called out by the community at large for the scam that he was running. So much that within that same night, he had scrapped the whole plan, um, and he basically ran away with his tail between his legs.
And no reward. I would like to add. His post I think went all the way down to zero.
It did. It went all the way to zero from being up over $1,000 at one point. The funny thing is he never did answer the question that if this was a serious deal, why was he so quick to pull out of it? If it was so entrenched into the Steam platform like he was claiming, he never had any answers for any of this. And this was a situation where flags helped the community and helped a lot of people from getting scammed. I'm sure some people still believed it and went along with it, but it probably saved a hell of a lot more people than what could have been. That post is still out there, and it's still fascinating to read.
It is. The reactions. The reactions alone are worth their weight in gold. Like every time somebody mentioned it, this sounds like a scam, his immediate reaction was like anger and derision. It's like, oh well, you're not going to be part of the first adopter group, and you're not going to get in on the ground floor of this, and that's just the way it's going to be because you want to question things.
Game.
You're banned from the game. Oh God, I remember that.
Oh, so much fun. So much fun. But he's wiped that, but it's still on the blockchain. You can see the original and see all the comments, and it is an absolute gold mine to read through.
Yeah.
Fun.
Oh, it's just one of those things like fuck you. Literally scamming grannies out of your money. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, but
Seriously.
those grannies were gonna get Lambos on the moon, man. Okay.
I know.
Lambos on the moon. Hey, I just got a witness vote.
Oh,
Hey,
yay!
cool. Good for you.
Do I get a kickback from it?
Yeah, where's mine?
No, there's no one in here. This is one I politicked on my own.
Oh, I was
And
gonna
actually,
say
good for you.
I was gonna say it was a proximity vote. I'm being an asshole. It's fine.
No,
Shane, I love
I
you.
know.
Good
We
witness.
we all. I don't know how you say that. Jeff is not on the air with us tonight.
Listen, I'm not beholden to Jeff. Everybody gets all torqued out because they hear partner and they assume we're like married or something. I've literally never actually met Jeff in real life. I just about
No.
died.
So
the
he's just
first
your
time.
heterosexual life partner.
He is.
Yeah,
he
no,
is my
no.
work wife. Jeff is my work wife.
No, what I'm saying is, had Jeff been on the air with us, I could have given the credit for the rub off there. But
So you want Jeff to rub you?
I was saying he was the workhorse. God
want
damn
Jeff
it!
to rub you off.
He wants
I heard
Jeff to
it.
rub.
I heard.
He wants Jeff to rub him off.
Right, I heard it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, of course I did say that. I'm not denying that part. I was also trying to slam you.
I know, but
Boo!
it didn't.
Boo!
Wait, so you want
Boo.
Jeff to
If
rub you off
have
and you
to
want to
tell me
slam
that you're
Crimson?
slamming me.
Holy shit, this show got dirty quick. This is about the
Hey,
dirtiest
Who
show
has
we've ever
pants on?
had.
Oh,
And I co-host a show where pants are optional.
Yeah, I want kickbacks on that as well, Andre.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations on your vote, Shane.
Shut
Congratulations,
up!
buddy.
Thank you.
Holy shit!
Thanks,
do you need to
buddy.
yell? Do you need to yell into the microphone every time you talk?
Yeah, I don't know where the mic is. I'm on a MacBook Pro. I have no idea where the microphone is here, so I'm just sort of talking at it. You know, I'm used to.
Professional
Oh,
live
Bugsy.
radio. Professional live radio.
Only the
I'm
best.
gonna-
Only
I'm
the
gonna go-
best.
I'm
All
gonna
right,
go
we're
unfollow
coming.
you
We're well
now.
past 2 hours now. I think we can. I think we're at the point now where we could probably wrap it up. This conversation is devolving quickly. We need to salvage it before it just goes completely into the water.
There.
We can bring it back up. Now,
By
you
our
know
what?
powers combined,
We could save it.
we have the technology.
So,
One bid bot at a time.
Oh shit.
So Andre, how is your witness going now that you've upgraded? It's been what, about a week and a half, 2 weeks for you?
It is running smooth as shit. Smooth as butter.
Yeah, mine's running well too. No problem since I went to the 32 gigs.
Yeah, it's God. It is amazing how much more RAM makes a difference in how smooth it operates. Coming, yeah, I know, right?
Sorry.
But coming up at the end of the month, when I get paid again, I am going to purchase my backup and set up a failover on another 32 gigabyte server. Of course, I can't
Sweet.
afford either of these, but that's okay. I'm going to hope and pray that perseverance will win the race.
So Krim, what are you guys running on? What are you on 32? Are you on 64? What's happening?
We've been on 32. We have 3 32s right now. Last I checked,
Son
anyways.
of a bitch.
Well,
Yeah.
because we were rising quickly enough that we thought, well, Jesus Christ, what do we do? And then now, of course, we are doing the dance, the 20 to 30 dance, which is pretty much every day that we look at the rankings, we change. So I don't anticipate that will change. To me right now, I would like to see a wider spread of lower votes because, I mean, we've got some really big votes behind us, which is super cool. That's really, really cool. And that's the only way that you can get up there. But to me, I would like to see
A broader base
more.
of support.
Yeah. And the problem is, like a lot of minnows are like, oh, but you're in the 20. Yeah. So still vote.
Yeah.
Like if you believe in us, still vote. Like being up there isn't enough. And no, you're not going to move me. And no, 10,000 of your friends aren't going to move me. But that's not the point. The point is to visibly support the witnesses that you believe in.
Yes.
So to me, that's
Well, actually, 10,000 of your friends probably would move you to like number
maybe.
1 forever.
Yeah.
no. We did
No.
the math.
10,000
So-
10,000 at 1 megavest?
To move where we were when we were at 27 to move up, we needed over 100 megavests to move up. But unfortunately, we've also dropped now. I think we had dropped to 29, we had moved to 28, and I think we're back at 29 again now. We're all separated by less than 50 megavests right now. It is the dance, the mystery of the dance.
Yeah, see, and you were talking about that. That's what happened to me. I had the Bernie Sanders vote, which I then lost, and that dropped me from being really, really happy and excited where I was to now I'm looking at it like, ah, shit, I'm climbing this hill again.
I just need
Well,
1,000 people with 1,000 SP apiece to vote me.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
That's-
exactly. And
That
it
would put me
shouldn't be
exactly where I
hard.
want to be. I don't need anything more than that.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I mean, and this is why, you don't want your top 20 all hinging on a single point of failure. Just like any system, forget just the witness, any system, you do not want to have a single point of failure. If somebody immediately powers down and drops all your top 20 witnesses out of the top 20,
Yeah, no kidding.
ooh, well, that's real interesting, isn't it? So, I mean, the reality is how we keep getting people to vote for witnesses. Ours would be great, but if it's not, I don't care. Just please vote. But
Which
do I also
goes-
want them voting willy-nilly? Fuck, I don't know. This is the duty of witnesses